Hello, I'm Dr. Deanna Minich, and in this segment, I'd like to talk with you about specific supplements that may help with things like inflammation and the immune system. So one of the ways that I work is with the 7 systems of health. This is a way to think about an integrated system of how we work with clients, work with patients. And so when we focus on the red, we focus on things like the following: protein. Protein adds to our being, our structure, our stability, how grounded we feel in the moment. Having stabilized blood sugar because we have adequate protein. Also minerals, because minerals give us a sense of structure and stability. Our bones are created from minerals. Anti-inflammatories in the way of cooling us down, reducing the red, and allowing us to not have the inflammation which leads to chronic disease. And then I'll cover red food-based phytonutrients. So I'll walk you through each of these in more of a general way so that you can get a survey of different dietary supplement options that could help with inflammation and the immune system. So let's first talk about protein powders. I think protein powders are such a great option for many people because protein does help to stabilize somebody's energy level throughout the day. So having protein with every meal, whether it's vegetable or animal protein, whatever best suits the person. And protein powders are just so convenient because it's a concentrated source of protein that can be blended into some type of liquid and then taken in and easily digested. So there are many different types of protein powders that can be chosen for different reasons. When I think of animal protein sources, I think of things like whey protein. Whey protein can be very good for building muscle and making sure that we don't have sarcopenia with age. Sarcopenia is the type of inflammation that can occur in the muscle over time and lead to fatty muscle and lead to all kinds of imbalances in metabolism. Casein. Many people are sensitive or intolerant of lactose, which is in dairy products, but then they can also be immune reactive to casein. But you can find that in certain protein powders, and not everybody is sensitive to it or even allergic. But again, this is a case-by-case example of really connecting into individual needs and what will best serve them. When it comes to plant protein, there are many different sources available now, and oftentimes you'll find them in combination with each other. And it tends to be because of the complement of different amino acids that are found in each of them. For example, with rice tends to be low in lysine and threonine, and so oftentimes something like pea protein is put together with rice for the full complement of the essential amino acids. But you also have adzuki, legume sources, or even nut and seed-based proteins like pumpkin seed protein, soy protein, chlorella protein. There are so many different kinds. And one of the things that I recommend to people is to get a combination of different types of protein so that you get a diverse blend of all these amino acids. So getting protein is essential, as I was speaking to, on a daily basis throughout the day to help somebody to feel really grounded and that they have energy. But digesting it is even more important because we can be taking in all of these wonderful protein powders that are relatively able to assimilate into our bodies. But most of us, from the age of about 30 on, we start to produce less stomach acid. And if we have less stomach acid, we can't break down protein, which means that we may not be digesting it and absorbing it. So we can be eating all this protein, but not actually take it into the body. So it's important to get stomach acid right because it's doing many different things. Again, we see lower stomach acid with age, and as a result of having lower stomach acid, we can get the buildup of bacteria in the stomach that produce toxic acids. These are some of the acids that lead to things like ulcers and perforations and different dysfunctions in the stomach. We can also have less protein digestion, as I mentioned, and if we have less protein digestion, chances are that we'll have more allergy issues. We'll have more food allergy issues. So one of the things to be looking for patients who have increased food allergy is simply whether or not they're digesting protein. And if they're not digesting protein because of low stomach acid, chances are they're not taking in minerals and vitamins either. There are certain minerals and vitamins that we need, things like calcium, iron, folic acid, which is vitamin B9, vitamin B6, which is pyridoxine, and vitamin B12. And all of those are important for the blood, the red of the blood, building red blood cells. It's also important for our immune system and for our neurological health. So we need a number of these minerals and vitamins to be acidified in the stomach so that they can be properly taken up. And also, if stomach acid is lower, we may have an increased risk for certain clinical conditions like small intestinal bowel overgrowth, otherwise known as SIBO, or gastroesophageal reflux disease, otherwise known as GERD. So the other thing to be thinking about here with the red and this system is insoluble fibers, making sure that we're moving things out of the body, that we're eliminating. And so there can be many different kinds of fibers out there. Insoluble, which means that the fiber does not bind to water. It just kind of moves through the gut and carries things with it and out. Very good for proper elimination. And I think it's really best to have a variety of different fibers, which can have different properties and bind to different things. Now, the one thing I think of with supplemental fibers is to change them up. And whether it's a monthly basis, I think is usually a good rule of thumb, and to take fiber supplements away from your other supplements. Things like nutrients that you want to absorb because it can interfere with the absorption of those nutrients. As I mentioned, these insoluble fibers tend to bind, and they can bind heavy metals and contaminants, which is good because many times with food we're taking in so many different contaminants and we take those into the body if we're not careful. But the fibers can latch on to the contaminants and take them out. But the fibers can also latch on to healthy minerals, essential minerals. So again, we need to have a little bit of fiber in our food in order to remove the toxic components with food, but then use the fiber separate from food so that we don't interfere with minerals. Different vitamins that I think of for proper immune function, proper formation of the red blood cells, and even reducing inflammation are vitamin A, some of the B vitamins that I've discussed, and even vitamin C, which is most notably known for helping with the immune system, as well as vitamin D. Vitamin D has an integral role in immunity. We're learning that vitamin D acts more like a hormone. It can be in one location and have a messenger kind of an effect in another location, which is much more like a hormone than it is a vitamin. Folic acid supplementation, taking in vitamin B9, has been shown to help lower blood arsenic. So here's a very simple case of methylation. Helping with the process of methylation by taking B vitamins can help to reduce the amount of toxicants in the body, as well as lower things like homocysteine. Vitamin C, as I was alluding to, is so important for cellular protection and also for the immune system. There are many different sources of vitamin C. Acerola cherry is a good food source, a whole food source, but it can also be ascorbic acid, which you typically find in a dietary supplement. For somebody that's under a lot of stress, typically they have a compromised immune system. We need to support their adrenals by having more vitamin C. Otherwise, we could see a number of different issues such as gum bleeding, tooth loss, skin sores, delayed wound healing, depression, and also some neurotransmitter issues because vitamin C is needed for the formation of some of the neurotransmitters. Interesting study of taking 1 gram of vitamin C per day and lowering persistent organic pollutants in healthy women. This was a study published in 2016. It was just with 15 women who had no evidence of chronic disease, showing that when you take 1 gram of vitamin C per day for 2 months, that levels of different pesticides that had accumulated in their bodies were able to be reduced. And then the minerals. The minerals are really key for building our structure. So calcium, copper, iron, zinc, these are some things that aren't only responsible for our structure and are found in our skeletal system, but are also important for the immune system and the building aspects of the body. So when it comes to mineral supplements, here are some of my tips. Calcium is important to balance with vitamin D because we know that calcium absorption is facilitated through vitamin D. Zinc can help with wound healing in the immune system, can also help with metabolizing heavy metals, moving them, mobilizing them from the body. Iron is helpful in preventing iron deficiency anemia, helping the red blood cells to carry oxygen better. And keep in mind that if you're taking high doses of minerals all in one supplement, you may have competition from the different minerals. So best to take smaller amounts of minerals in a supplement, and then if you need larger amounts of a certain mineral, to take that separate so that it doesn't compete. Minerals are also best taken on a full stomach to help with the processing and the uptake. And as I mentioned before, stomach acid. And if somebody doesn't have adequate stomach acid, there can be many things that they can do. They can actually take betaine HCl, hydrochloric acid, supplementally to help the parietal cells in the stomach to be stimulated by the presence of that acid, and just to have that acid to help break down some of the protein. Most people are insufficient in minerals, and because the soils are depleted, we often need to take minerals in a supplemental form. So that is always my preference. This is one of the things that I recommend to people over and over again, which is why one of the supplements that I recommend is a multivitamin and mineral. And as I mentioned before, not only is the mineral complex important for helping with different reactions in the body, but it helps to upregulate the formation of a protein called metallothionein. And metallothionein can bind heavy metals. So then we'll close with red food-based phytonutrients, things like lycopene. Lycopene is an interesting phytonutrient in red foods. We typically think of it in tomato products. Cooked tomato products have the most amount of bioavailable lycopene, but then you also have watermelon and guava and red grapefruit. So in 1 cup, 240 milliliter glass of tomato juice, you have about 20 milligrams of lycopene, which is an efficacious dose, which is a healthy dose for cardiovascular health and reducing inflammation. Lycopene supplements have been used for years in combination with other carotenoids, other plant-based colorful compounds. And those that have any kind of nightshade or type of allergy, of course, should avoid these type of tomato-based supplements because of a potential reaction. So I'm going to stop there, and just again to summarize, the red system of health is really about the immune system. It's about looking at reducing inflammation and stabilizing and grounding the body's physical structure through minerals, protein, and even some of the plant-based red foods to quell inflammation in the body. Thank you.